Good morning. Just a short one on Mary Lou McDonald's comments around Coolock and the level of community engagement that she is espousing, or is that she is advocating for, at least, or saying that her party will engage in. And this is from Gript, who, as usual, seem to be the only ones at these press meetings or media coverage things that ask legitimate questions. So we'll have a listen to her.
Will have an opportunity to be consulted, to make observations, to make submissions. That never grants an individual citizen or community a veto. We're not talking about a veto.
Okay, so she's adamant there, she's explicit there, we are not talking about a veto. So Sinn Fein don't endorse or support the idea that the locals in their relevant communities or respective communities have any deciding factor on who comes in there. I think there's one question that needs to be thrown at these politicians, and it's this, maybe two. Okay, so the first one, based off of we're not looking at a veto or talking about a veto, I would just ask this: how many Irish people would it take for you, Mary Lou McDonald, and Sinn Fein to begin to act according to the will of the people? How many Irish people would it take to say, no, we do not want this under any circumstances, would it take for the politicians in this country to get on side? And we go with Sinn Fein because they're the ones pretending that they're still on the side of the people. So that would be my question to Mary Lou McDonald, or any of them. How many Irish people would it take to say, no, they do not want this under any circumstances, for your party to get on side with the people? Will it go on?
We are talking about respectful conversations with community.
Deputy McDonald, you've spoken about the need to consult communities on asylum centres, but at the same time you've also said that communities don't have a veto on who lives in their area. So how is that consulting people when they aren't even allowed to say no? What kind of consultation is that exactly?
Ben, thank you for the question.
Great question. So now she's doing, from what I can see, the same thing Micheál Martin done yesterday. So thanks for the question, Ben. Give herself a couple of seconds to be able to remember the scripted sentence or response she has for this.
And it's consultation, as per every other public process of dialogue and engagement, is at the heart of our planning system, for example, where people can make their objections, comments, they can bring forward their substantive case. And
what an utterly pointless endeavour. So we'll go and talk to the people, we'll give them information, excuse me, they'll be able to give us their objections, and we'll be able to go over the details of what's going to be happening and what future engagements will look like. But ultimately, their objections are irrelevant because it's going to go ahead. So what's the point? What is the point? What's the point? Do you know what I mean? Ludicrous. This is not a serious person. Do you know what this is? And what this sounds like? Manager speak. Just all fluff and corporate bureaucratic language that, when you boil it down, it doesn't actually mean much at all. It sounds like you're getting loads of things and opportunities, but ultimately you're in the same position as before these things were spoken. That's what she's operating as here.
Do so in good faith, but they don't have a veto. None of us have a veto.
And I'll stop it here as well, because there's no point in even continuing on with what she has to say. People can go and watch it themselves. I would add to that another question for her specifically, if I was talking to her, or for any journalists that are talking to her. I would ask, do the Irish people, blood and bone, not Irish citizens, Irish people, Irish human beings, do they have a claim on Irish land, on the very soil beneath all of our feet? Do the native population, the Irish people, in 2024 have a claim on that land? And do they have a right to uphold their claim on that land, according to you, Mary Lou? These are the only questions I feel need to be asked to these people. Because they'll try and get out of it and they won't answer honestly, but you're showing the world then that Mary Lou, because she's not going to come out and say, I believe that Irish people have an absolute right to the land that they're standing on, to the Irish people own Ireland. You know, she's not going to come out and say that, even though that's what centuries of Irish struggle was built on. So for her to come out and not go along with that, she would be turning her back on what a many great amount of Sinn Fein supporters still believe Sinn Fein stand for. And I think that question would be great to throw at her, because this is just empty nonsense. We'll go and we'll talk and we'll communicate, and there'll be details and there'll be PowerPoints and there'll be dialogue and there'll be interaction, but ultimately we'll leave and ye will be in the exact same position as before we came here. What's the point? What's the point? These people need to go. Mary Lou never needs to see any position of power, and she's speaking the exact same phrases and words, so she has the same view of this as Fine Gael, as Fianna Fáil, as the Social Democrats, as nearly all these other horrible parties. She has the exact same view. Mary Lou McDonald would be just as in place standing in Micheál Martin's position as he would be in hers, more than likely. She would probably fit more snugly into his than he would into hers. So, thank you. 2 questions. How many Irish people would it take to say no for you to back off or to back them? And also, do you believe the Irish people have a claim to the land of Ireland? Simple.